Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lane County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Morning, Mr. Mokryski.
Good morning, Chair.
Council Bovet.
Good morning.
Okay, first off, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, staff.
Okay, do we have any emergency business? All right, next up, we have our public comments. See, Rio's bringing a list up here. Speakers will be taken in the order in which they sign up and will be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you. Your time will start when you say your name at the dais. First up, we have Kathy Bueller.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Bueller. I'm here in a very emotional request. In 2021, my husband and I bought our property in Lane County after living 42 years in unincorporated Washington County. In April of 2025, I received a phone call from the Lane County Code Compliance officer that everything on our property except our house had been put in unpermitted by previous owners in a floodplain. Everything has to come down. All of the outbuildings and 2,000 square feet of wraparound deck. Okay, we have to do that. One of the issues I have, and I have a handout here for you, is we have behind our property on the east side about a 300 to 350 foot unincorporated, unconstructed county easement that nobody can get to except going down a person's driveway. It goes nowhere, it ends nowhere. Our pump house sits on our property line adjacent to this easement. It's been there for decades, and the county wants us to move it. To move it in a floodplain, we are looking from $50,000 to $80,000. We're already $100,000 in taking buildings down, not counting the loss of the value of our property. Nothing as two retired people ever had planned out. In this county easement are two very, very flagrant violations that the county is very much aware of and has chosen not to address. One of them is a 12-inch electrical riser for a sump pump that is 40 feet inside that 60-foot easement. There's also 200 feet of post and rail fence that is also 25 feet inside this 60-foot easement that code compliance officer has walked, knows of them, and has chosen not to address. But is forcing us to move our pump house that has a 4-inch corner of it in the same easement. That easement ends 60 feet at the end of my property to a private property. It doesn't go anywhere. No one's ever going to go down that road. And so I'm pleading to the council here, please allow us to leave our pump house where it's at. I don't know what else to say to you guys. I can show you where those property lines are.
If you leave your papers right there, our county administrator will pass them out to us later.
I mean, this is nothing we did. They've been there for a long time. I don't understand. We're being taxed on those buildings.
Kathy, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Sean Highland.
Morning. Thank you for hearing us out today. I want to talk about the Lane Stabilization Center project and the process of using a CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor, on that project. I'm just going to dive in here real quick. This has been going on for 25 years plus of this use of public contracting, and I feel it's a very unfair use of it because it does not pick a contractor on his skill or ability. It picks on how well we write and the things we say that make the people reviewing them happy. Let's just, for instance, Lane Community College has been doing this. and excluding local general contractors for years, using companies as Fortis and Lease Crutcher Lewis that are not based anywhere around here. U of O does the same thing, but that's U of O. I just really think that Lane County should be supporting local general contractors that pay Lane County taxes. The one thing, if you put this project out to bid, hard bid, it's a brand new building. It can be designed and bid out complete. There's nothing fancy about it, nothing special where you need a contractor to help you figure out how to design it. For years, we've built buildings as a hard bid project. Many schools in this town have been built as a hard bid project. They're designed, they're put out to bid, and we build them. And every time that's happened, the value has come back to the community by the costs that come in at the bid. Great example of that is Springfield School District went CMGC, hired a company, Fortis Construction, to be their general contractor as a negotiated general contractor. I can't remember, 3 to 6 months went by. I got a phone call, asked to meet with the Springfield School District, and they came to me saying, what do we do? We're $10 million over budget. And I had to tell them, I told them so, because this dog and pony show they picked their contractor on wasn't the best bang for the buck. They had two choices, which was to stick it out with the contractor or fire them and put it out to bid. They chose the second, put it out to bid. We bid the project along with other general contractors. We were awarded, but we came in under their budget, around 11 million less than the other company was telling them it would cost. So with that, this is the best timing to put a project out to bid. There's a lot of general contractors in our area that are capable, qualified, and hungry to do this job. And if you don't put it out to bid, you're not going to recognize those savings. So for the benefit of the public and the taxpayers of this county, I recommend you do put this project out to bid and cancel the CMGC process, have the architect finish the drawings, and competitively bid it. You'll have a bid bond by every general contractor that qualifies them, so people will be standing behind them saying they can do it. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Steve Gilbert.
Morning, I'm Steve Gilbert. I'm third generation Bethel resident. My wife and I have raised 7 kids through Bethel, and we're foster parents for over 30 years. First thing I'd like to say, it's ironic that the first person that spoke today is going through this code compliance issue when you've got a property on Green Hill and West 11th that somehow Lane County drives by. I have witnessed the changes to Highway 99 in my Bethel neighborhood. I suffer the consequences of them with my neighbors and area businesses. When the city of Eugene and Lane County developed a plan to make homelessness rare, they selected Highway 99 and saturated it with chronic homeless services. The dangers to public safety by concentrating this vulnerable population on the highway were known, and they were ignored. And services continue to be added there. Has a plan to reduce homelessness worked here? Absolutely not. The plan has simply fueled its growth. Eugene is now known nationally for homelessness. Chronically homeless individuals move here from other cities inside Lane County, around the state, and across the country. They come from cities that enforce their laws or are lacking in homeless services themselves. Think cities like Springfield. Eugene and Lane County stick with their plan at the expense of their own budgets. Policing, fire, EMT services, the judicial system, the DA, local businesses, and the safety and well-being of its residents. Downtown Eugene is a different story. Downtown has its own dedicated police force that deals with the chronically homeless people. And now the council is considering grant monies to help the negatively impacted downtown area businesses. However, there's no such concern for Bethel and 99. Bethel is where Eugene and Lane County have envisioned the chronic homeless population to be located. Meanwhile, calls for service have tripled on River Road after the NAV Center opened. Yet, the commissioners renewed the contract for another year. would you have voted for the contract if you owned property nearby the NAV Center? If you personally knew a business owner that was now suffering for that location? If your grandchildren or your children lived close by and had to walk past the NAV Center to go to school? Or if you yourself owned a business nearby and were now making these calls for service, losing sleep over lost sales and your increased costs,
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Your time is up.
and now afraid for your employees and your customer safety?
Next up, we have Jerry Valencia.
Jerry Valencia, Bridgeway Contracting. I just want to reaffirm what Sean said. CMGC, design it, bid it, build it. You guys tried this with, remember the M Stadium? It had to be. City came to you or staff came to you and said, we got to go CMGC, got to go CMGC. We had a $40 to $60 million Lane County project that jumped to 120, then bounced back down to 100, and you guys lost that project because you guys went so hard and heavy at CMGC and you let the contractor be involved in it. I'm looking over here and we've got some of the greatest builders around. That's Essex, Chambers, Highland. You know, Pence is a great builder as well, but at the end of the day, we're not getting any value anymore. And we keep working on the world of guaranteed maximum project, maximum price. And at the end of the day, there's no incentive to show where they're going to save this money for you guys, for the constituents that vote for you guys. And at the end of the day, we're not keeping that money recycled in our community, and that tax base is going to be sent to Portland when you do your monthly progress check. I, personally, I'm not bidding this project. It's a little bit too big for me, but I would rather these guys at least have a chance, one chance to have something to keep their employees and their community busy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up, we have Kurt Offenbacher.
Good morning, Kurt Offenbacher, Wallace Creek Road, Springfield. I'd like to clarify, I'm absolutely nothing to do with EPUD. I'm here for myself. EPUD works with Lane County on a daily basis. I'm referring to the Clean Lane project. The project, it began as an ill-conceived pet project by your former Public Works Director. It was in terms of scale, economics, and technology. The idea was then followed by a poor real estate decision that lacked any due diligence in the purchase of unsuitable land. That poor decision was then followed by a really poor decision in signing a contract with bulk handling systems that included unrealistic terms and penalties, all in favor of bulk handling. You've been told no by every level of land use in our state. You've been told no by every level of legal system authority in our state, including the Oregon Supreme Court. You would be told no by the voters if you weren't afraid to ask. You spent millions of dollars to date on design, land, and legal fees. It's time to stop the bleeding. Pay the opponent's legal fees, which you need to do now, and settle with bulk handling, which will be expensive. I'd like you to refer to this is item 10A on your agenda. Item B, policy issues. Quote, this is the next logical step in Lane County's efforts to secure land use approval for the Clean Lane project. I think it must have been misspelled or something. Should be illogical. That makes no sense. You've been through the process. And then a couple quick questions. One is, due to the lack of flow to Short Mountain, has there been any reduction in man hours or equipment hours? The other one is your former Public Works Director still getting compensated at the same level now that he's at a reduced capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up, we have Lou Adla.
Lou Adler from Cresswell. I'm right next to your Short Mountain facilities there. In fact, I farmed that one long before there was even a racetrack there. Now it's a landfill, but anyway, it's a pretty good landfill. You killed all the damn animals in that creek there, where confluence of the Camas Creek and the Willamette. There's no crawdads or pollywogs or nothing in there for the kids. But anyway, I guess my biggest bitch is you want to put that recycle facility in there. And I bought the property across the freeway from the county. And when I bought that, I was told by your administrator that I could put the sign back that was there. The posts are still there. The electric box is still there. It's not functional, but it's there. And I go down to get my damn permit, and they tell me I got to go through a zone change. It's going to cost $10,000. That's more than I paid for the darn property from you, you know? And the posts are still there. I don't know if the county cut them off or the previous owner, but I'm not going to spend $10,000 for a permit for a zone change I didn't ask for and don't need and don't want. There's a lot of inequities in your whole damn system, and now you guys want to put that recycle facility across the freeway from me? We need that recycle facility like we need a hole in our head in this county. You got private sectors that can take care of that recycling, and a hell of a lot cheaper than you can do with the county. That's why Santa Pac doing what they're doing. You know, instead of spending all the money on that and fighting me to get a sign in there, you need to take a look at the situation. As far as I'm concerned, this county needs a managerial interim and clean it out a little bit. It's a mess. And to go in there and fight that, and then they turn around and raise the value of the property. All it is damn wetlands. Snakes in there as big as your arm and 8 feet long eating the rats coming from your landfill. You know, and a lot of inequities here. In 3 minutes wouldn't cause it. 3 hours might get it all said. But in the meantime, I want my damn sign. And I don't think I should have to spend $10,000 for a zone change I don't need, don't want. And your recycle facility, you don't need that in this county. You got private sectors that can take care of it a whole lot cheaper than you can. You need to think about that. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have George Benson.
Thanks, Pat.
George Benson, not very far away from here. There's an unconventional elevator, and right next to it, in red letters, it says, "For physically disabled persons only." That is a statement of discrimination, and it's a statement of collusion. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Do we have anybody else sign up, Rio, in person? Okay, next we'll go online. Ms. Gibb, do you have anybody signed up?
Yes, Chair, we have a number of people joining us this morning. For those joining us online, if you would like to give public comment, please raise your virtual hand now. I see a number of hands raised. We will begin with Sean Maxwell. Sean, would you like to be on camera for your comments?
Hi, no, audio is just fine. Thank you.
All right, you are good to start when ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sean Maxwell. I'm here regarding access to private property located beyond the Lane County Park Gate at Heilman Lane. I previously spoke to the board about this issue at a county commissioner meeting in February of 2021. I'm returning because more than 5 years later, the issue still has not been resolved, and I want the continuing denial of access clearly entered into the public record. The current property owner, as well as previous owners, historically accessed this property through Heilman Lane and were provided a gate key without restriction. That access continued for decades and only stopped around 2015. The gate was installed in the 1970s in response to illegal dumping. It was not installed to prevent private property owners from reaching their land. After the gate was installed, the county continued providing keys to the property owners. This legal access for the property is documented in the 1939 court order of Road of Public Easement, which can be found within the Master Road File 1164. The Master Road File and the 1939 court order are important because they show the road has a documented public easement history and has long served as the access route to private property beyond the gate. It should not be treated merely as a discretionary park road controlled only by Lane County Parks. The Parks Department has previously offered to provide a key, but only if the property owner signed a special use permit. That condition is unacceptable. Requiring a private property owner to sign a special use permit in order to access his own property is in direct violation of that 1939 Road of Public Easement. The owner is not asking for special permission to use the park. He is asking Lane County to recognize and honor the established access rights reflected in its own road records. The owner is asking for a simple and reasonable solution, provide a key without restrictions, without requiring a special permit, and confirm that access will not be denied again when the locks are changed. I urge the board to direct Lane County Parks to finally resolve this issue. This should have been addressed years ago, and frankly, should have been settled nearly a decade ago. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next, we will have Matt Mitchell. Matt, would you like to be on camera for your comments?
Yes, please.
All right, just one moment while I promote you. Okay, go ahead and start your camera. Thanks, Matt. We can see you, we can hear you, and you have 3 minutes for your comments. You may begin when ready.
Thank you very much. Chair Sinegat, members of the commission, my name is Matt Michael. I'm the Veneta City Administrator, and I'm appearing today on behalf of the City of Veneta. On the commissioner's agenda today is approving a 5-year capital improvement plan. The city is excited to see on there the Elmira Veneta multi-use plan that has been over a decade in the works, and Lane County has done a wonderful job in developing that project, promoting that project, and landing over $5 million grant for phase 1. So we're excited to see that happen. What we would like to also ask the commission to consider adding to that capital improvement project list is the Jeans Road Territorial Highway intersection. Right now, that intersection has failed, and there's development happening on adjoining properties. So it's timely within the next 5 years that Lane County, as the owner of Territorial Highway, have staff engaging in conversations with the City of Veneta and those surrounding property owners for some creative cost savings to make that intersection work. So we are asking for the commission to add the Territorial Highway Jeans Road intersection to that CIP list so that the conversation can happen at staff level about how and if a cost-saving pre-design can happen and different arrangements be made with adjoining property owners, one who plans to develop in the next coming few years. So it would be a great time to do some advanced work before knowing that where the funding is going to come, and that's where this project would fit on the pre-planning list. And the next 5 years is a critical time to have those conversations while development is happening in that area. So that's what I wanted to share with the commission this morning, that the city would like to see the Jeans Road Territorial Highway intersection added to that 5-year CIP list to allow county staff to know that they have the go-ahead to engage in the conversation with the city and those adjacent property owners now within this next 5 years to hopefully save some money for the county and the city. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for your comments. I will ask once again, if anyone joining us online would like to give public comment, please raise your virtual hand now. Chair, I see no further hands raised. Return it to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your public comment. We'll take it all into consideration. Next up, we have our consent calendar. All items listed here are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately.
Chair, I'll move approval of the consent calendar for July 14, 2026.
Second?
We have a motion made by Vice Chair to approve the consent calendar for July 14th, 2026, seconded by Commissioner Lovell. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, first up, we have 5A. I see Ms. Gray coming up. Health and Human Services, Order 2607-1413.
Yes, thank you. This shouldn't be a long item, but seemed worthy of discussion publicly. As you all will remember, when we remodeled the South Lane Clinic building within the LCC campus, we had created 2 separate clinic spaces in there, one for primary care, which we have opened. We now have filled the schedules of and panels of 2 providers. We are recruiting our 3rd primary care provider in the South Lane Clinic, which has added a great amount of access to care in the South Lane community. We also remodeled the dental clinic that was there, which has been active with volunteer dentists, but it has been our goal to bring our own full-service dental clinic to the South Lane region because there are such a significant limitation in access for Medicaid members with dental care in that area. We received the Rural Transformation Grant that is, of course, federal dollars passing through the state of Oregon. And these are startup funds to provide us with the funding that we need in order to hire staff and onboard them and take all of those expenses prior to bringing patients on. As you all know, it is costly to start a new health clinic program. So we are very excited to have received this grant funding. We will utilize it to fund the positions before we have revenue coming in to fully support the clinic, and then it will transition over time to where revenue that we are billing will cover the cost of the positions in this clinic. Within this order is both the acceptance of the grant and the addition of some FTE in order to support this program. So happy to answer any questions, but just, like I say, felt like it deserved its own spot on the agenda because this is a wonderful milestone for the South Lane community.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Gray? Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question, it's just a comment regarding our partnership with the City of Cottage Grove and the people in and around Cottage Grove. It's something that we take very, very seriously. Working together on our projects, including healthcare, including public safety, including all kinds of things. It's important that we work closely with the cities in Lane County. Working very closely here is a very significant part of our commitment to that area.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Well done on writing a successful grant. We've been working very hard on trying to find the startup costs to expand that dental clinic to full-time care in the facility. And we all walked through with Senator Merkley trying to find additional funding and ways in which to make this clinic come alive. I want to thank all the volunteers that have been working in that clinic, but it was underutilized, and it's fully built out, and it's ready to go. So this is really exciting for that region to have this additional healthcare coverage for the community. What is the timeline to get it going and start up with this money?
The timeline is rate dependent on recruitment of a dental director. As soon as we can recruit and onboard that position, there really is no further delay. We already have a dental hygienist who is prepared to transition over and help us in the clinic for a period of time, and the other positions we should be able to recruit.
Great. So if you know of any dentists that are interested, we've got a job available. Would love to have them here, and thank you for continuing to pursue this. And I appreciate the community of Cottage Grove and their support of the clinic.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more questions.
I will move approval of Order and Resolution 26-07-14-13 as presented.
I'm quickly going to second that.
Quick on the draw. We have a motion to approve Resolution and Order 26-07-14-13 in the matter of accepting a grant award from Oregon Health Authority in the amount of $768,789.98 over fiscal year 26-27, delegating authority to the county administrator to execute the award documents associated subcontract, and increasing fiscal year 26-27 appropriations in the Health and Human Services Fund within the department. Seconded by Commissioner Farr. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gray. Next up, we have 26-07-14-14 in the matter of approving a contract with Sports Facilities Advisory. See, we have Mr. Harris coming up here. A little presentation.
Good morning, commissioners, members of the public. My name is Jason Harris. I'm Lane County's Community Economic Development Manager, and I'm here to present a contract award. This is in reference to the feasibility analysis of an indoor multi-use sports facility. I'd like to start off to recognize my co-partners that have been a part of this effort, Samara Phillips with Trevor Lane County and Corey Buller of Lane Event Center. They're here in attendance if needed to answer any questions. We'd also like to thank the county's procurement manager, Sean Hubble, for his guidance and assistance in the procurement process of selecting this consultant. And we're here to present the board's authorization, a contract with Sports Facilities Advisory LLC for the feasibility analysis of an indoor multi-use sports facility, approval of a memorandum of agreement with Trevor Lane County to split the cost of the contract, and delegate authority to the county administrator to execute the contract and any future amendments that do not cause the Sports Facilities Advisory LLC contract to exceed $218,000. So with that, I'll just take you through a little bit of the process leading up to today's recommendations. As we may recall, Trevor Lane County has been advocating for the creation of an indoor sports facility for more than a decade to boost winter tourism and increase overnight visitation to address sport tournament demand for indoor athletic space. It has also been highlighted that a large multi-use facility could also potentially serve as an event space and/or emergency shelter in the event of a natural disaster. Trevor Lane County's provided some quarterly updates to the board about their efforts to evaluate the feasibility of this sports facility concept. This past January, at the second quarterly update, the board gave direction for county staff to partner with Trevor Lane County to share in the cost of the feasibility study. A request for proposal process was then initiated on May 1. County received 5 proposals, and the Sports Facilities Advisory LLC was selected, and the contract award is being recommended for approval. So Sports Facilities Advisory LLC is a business unit of the Sports Facilities Company, and we refer to them as SFC, just to shorten that. They have again been selected based upon their advisory services, their competitive cost, as well as their local experience and familiarity. They've partnered with Hutton Andrews Kurth, a public finance law firm, to provide advisory services on financing options as a part of this proposal team. And as identified here on this presentation slide, the proposal services is $168,000, significantly less than what we had estimated. And they're providing the service in 5 phases over a 6-month time period in evaluating the 3 prospective sites and the development financing approach, developing ultimately a decision framework for the board to evaluate the project going forward. So again, this is kind of a high-level overview of those phases of work, as I just referenced, of developing effectively a comparative decision framework, evaluating each component. So funding options and capital availability, ownership, operator pathways, including governance, and then site viability, cost, and marketability of the 2 adaptive reuse buildings, and then evaluating a new build scenario on the Lane Event Center campus. So I guess three project sites under evaluation. And then they're going to bring all of that analysis together. We'll obviously be briefing the board throughout the process and facilitating any decision framework going forward. So in addition to the contract award being presented, staff is also seeking board approval of a memorandum of agreement with Travel Lane County to share in half the cost of the study. And then to ease and facilitation of administration, staff's recommending a 30% funding contingency of $50,000 for any additional scope of work or advisory services that may be required by this consultant team. That would result in a contract not to exceed $218,000. And with that, this concludes the staff presentation. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, to the board, any questions? Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. Jason, thank you again for spearheading this and keeping this up to going. I know you've spent a lot of time in this, you and Samara as well, and the Travel Lane County folks. I'm just wondering, is this feasibility study going to start immediately, and why is there a 6-month time frame? It seems a little lengthy unless there's some things about the details that we don't know about. Could you explain that?
Certainly. So to 2-part question, in response to the timing of services, following this board action, if it is affirmative today, we'll be executing the 2 agreements, one with Travel Lane County sharing the cost, and then obviously the consultant contract. The scope of work proposed in the 6 phases, I think is thoughtful. I believe the consultant was probably also anticipating the process rolling through the fall, of which we have several holidays, and so recognizing that. And then ultimately, process-wise, all the proposals received were within that time period, so I don't think this was an abnormally lengthy evaluation process, but a thorough one being recommended.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. This is all pretty exciting. I think working together in partnership with Travel Lane County is another great partnership that we have, and the back and forth there has been tremendous through the years, and thanks for bringing that and continuing that, Ms. Phelps. And thanks to Commissioner Lovell for continuing to be Lane County's representative on the board of Travel Lane County. This work together is remarkable. Just wanted to ensure we have Corey Buller in the back and Samara Phelps in here. Everybody's in agreement with this. This sounds like everybody's carrying it on their shoulders and moving it forward. Is that a good analysis on my part?
Chair, Commissioner Farr, yes, it's unanimous in agreement, and all parties are excited to work with the consultant team.
Then I am too. Thank you.
Mr. Trigger.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have a few questions. The first is how or where in the scope or in which phases is public benefit, community benefit evaluated?
Excellent question. As I would say, the public benefit being evaluated is the multi-use aspect. So in addition to kind of the tax benefit of bringing those overnight visitor stay, which was the driver for Travel Lane County, the county's evaluation was also kind of quality of life amenities and additional services that could be provided with the facility. So that is either multi-event and or emergency use. And depending on location, that may vary as far as the programmatic aspect. So I think there is this public benefit component that's weaved throughout all of the evaluation of both the program availability, obviously size, location consideration is a part of that, and obviously the fiscal economic impacts will also be evaluated per each project throughout.
I would assume any decisions about management and operations also is potentially a public versus a private entity benefit. Would that not be true?
Chair, Commissioner, yes, in the context of kind of ownership and governance, there could be elements of some associated public benefits depending on kind of the management structure.
Thank you. And the company, is this the same company that I attended the presentation from, I think his name was Evan? Yes, this is that same company. And they're located where?
This is a Florida-based.
Florida-based company. And I don't remember, I remember it being asked, and if you don't have it off the top of your head, that's fair, but I remember it being asked when Evan made the presentation, how many facilities across the country they've been the consultant to determine feasibility have they ended up getting the contract to own and to operate and manage?
Chair, Commissioner, I do not have that number available. I can research that. Within their materials, they've referenced working on hundreds, if not thousands of projects, of which they manage a much smaller amount. So they're full service in both advisory as well as facilitating and development, and then kind of on the back end of operations. So that was one of the benefits of this company, of having kind of that experiential base to inform.
Pardon my interruption, Chair. I need to be excused for a moment.
Yes. Thank you. And so I know we've talked about this, but for anybody tuning in to the show so far, how does this differ? You reference in the cover memo to the item that there have been numerous other studies, that Travel Lane's been, held this vision for over a decade. So why has a study like this not happened before? How does this differ from the several other studies that are referenced as having been done?
Certainly. Chair, Commissioner, in context to past studies in reference to this study being presented today, I would say the studies that have been produced to date were exploratory in evaluating just scope of project. Is there competitive opportunity in our region to have a sport-related indoor competitive facility? And so those were kind of some of the first studies. And then there was additional studies just looking at kind of base program of size and potential location. But I would describe all of those as kind of perfunctory, cursory, and high-level evaluation. And so this is going at a much deeper level of technical analysis, of really refining to adaptive reuse sites and going through that full project scope evaluation, as well as a concurrent evaluation of a new build on Lane Event Center, and going deep in the context of full cost study and operation and governance of how those sites would be financed, developed, and operated under those three locations, and then obviously wrapping around in the evaluation, how would it be operated, who could operate it, what's the funding needed. So just that level of detail will be coming out of the studies.
Okay, thank you. You said there were 5 respondents to the bid for proposals?
Commissioner.
Thank you. Were any of them local or Oregon companies?
I believe two were Portland-based.
Thank you. And then I had one other, I'm looking at my notes, excuse me a minute. So this is going to be a study doing relative modeling across 3 site options. Is that right?
Chair, Commissioner, correct.
Is my recollection when this was brought to us that this was not site-specific? I remember asking, saying, so this is not going to be a site-specific study, and the response was yes. I could be misremembering. That might have been 2 presentations ago and not when we actually approved moving forward with this process. What has changed?
Chair, Commissioner, I do not recall there being kind of an open evaluation. I think what has maybe evolved from maybe last year when the project started to surface was it was initiated, as we recall, in concept of evaluation of a potential Lane Event Center site and it being included in the master planning process as an option. And then during that due diligence evaluation of just master planning and some of these early exploratory studies that I referenced, that an adaptive reuse, meaning using an existing office building and converting it into a sports, recreation facility was under consideration study-wise. And since that time, an additional adaptive reuse option, another facility was identified. And so as this was being presented in the quarterly updates, Travel Lane County formalizing into the direction that the board made, that was the scope that was being considered, evaluating those 3 options.
Thank you. And I'm glad you referenced the long-range planning for the Lane Event Center. I sat on that 15-member steering committee. I understand we're going to be having, this might be a question more for the administrator, a report back soon after our summer break on progress towards some feasibility studies that were directed by this board in the wake of that work, of that long-range planning. So how those 2 initiatives might dovetail, or if Corey wants to answer that. Yeah, I'm not sure who to direct that to.
You're doing this across the room with Corey Buller. September, we'll have a report back to the board.
Great. So another reason for the 6 months, we need the 6 months because we have our own work that we've also directed about our own operations and facilities and studies that that this board has directed staff to conduct, that we need to see how it all dovetails, right? Okay. Terrific. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? No? Yeah, I'll just say real quick, if I recall, I think we coined the term, this is to be our decision grade feasibility analysis. So, yeah, I'm great with the 3 different locations. I think, as my direction was last time, we need to get a little more aggressive and come up with a plan and a decision. I think we're heading down that path. So 6 months does seem like a long time, but I think it'll be the right time for everything to fall in place. This is exciting stuff. Ready for a motion, Vice Chair.
I'm pleased to move approval of Order 26-07-14-14 as presented.
Second that.
We have a motion made by Vice Chair to approve Order 2607-1414 in the matter of approving a contract with Sports Facilities Advisory LLC to provide consultant services in the amount of $168,000 for the feasibility analysis of an indoor multi-use sports facility. Approving a memorandum of agreement with Travel Lane County to share in half the total cost of said contract and delegating authority to the county administrator to execute the approved contracts and any future amendments that do not cause the contract to exceed a total of $218,000. Seconded by Commissioner Lovell. Any discussion of the motion? Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. Just one more quick question, particularly because the Chair's comments were, we said we need to move it forward. There's 3 options. It's going to help us pick. But this really is a study about if we're going to construct such a thing first, and if so, where and how and who might operate it and what the scope of those operations might be, correct? This is not a we are doing one of the 3 and the study is going to tell us which. This is a study to say, are we going to do this thing at all, first and foremost?
Chair, Commissioner, I would agree with that
Thank you.
assessment.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Farr.
Thank you. And I view this as a necessary step in the process, just a step along the way toward what will be an ultimate conclusion. I'd like to say this, that in January, July 14th seemed like a long way away, but here we are.
Here we are.
And Chair and Commissioners, if I could just add, if you recall, we had previously had a commitment with Travel Lane County to be providing kind of quarterly updates on the project. Going forward, our next quarterly update would have been in August, a few weeks out, and recognizing we wouldn't have had much to update since we were just presenting today, we'll reset that regular cadence and probably match it with the study effort process. And so it may or may not necessarily follow on a quarterly basis and more when we have substantive milestones of project analysis to report out.
About 6 months.
Great. No need to have a meeting, just to have a meeting. I agree. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. Okay, next up, we have Order 26071415. Mr. Ward and Mr. Hubble coming to the table.
Good morning. Today, we are here to discuss the award of the Lane Stabilization Center Construction Manager General Contractor Service Contract. With me today is David Ward, Manager of Capital Planning and Facilities Management. And I'm Sean Hubble, I'm the Procurement Manager. So, on May 5th, staff provided findings to the board seeking approval for using an alternative contracting method to select a construction manager general contractor for the lane stabilization project. We did not receive any public comment regarding the findings, and at the May 5th meeting, the board approved moving forward with the construction manager general contractor approach. The CMG, call it the CMGC, construction manager general contractor. The CMGC approach included issuing a request for proposal to select the contractor. As you can see on the screen, it has been a busy couple of months. Per the requirements of the Public Contracting Code, we performed a very robust selection process. We had an awesome amount of interest in the solicitation and ultimately received 10 proposals, which is substantially more than the county normally would receive. After a thorough evaluation process that included interviews of the top 3 ranked proposers, the evaluation team ranked Pence Contractors as the recommended contractor.
So Pence Contractors has delivered over 200 projects in Oregon, performing as a construction manager, general contractor, and have completed more than 100 projects in the healthcare sector. During the last 3 years within our Eugene-Springfield area, they have delivered projects with a contract value of over $170 million. And some of these projects include the Dana Boat Elementary School addition and remodel, Delta Ridge Phases 1 and 2, the Peace Health Ancillary Abatement Project, and the Peace Health Springfield Rehabilitation Hospital. So regarding estimated fee, some of the firms proposed more pre-construction hours, but with a significantly higher cost. Some firms proposed less hours for pre-construction services, but they had less direct related experience. Pence has the best mix of proposed fee and qualified experience. Pre-construction services from the end of schematic design through completion of the construction documents, those are ready for building permit submittal, include drafting a project charter to align all stakeholder goals, roles, responsibilities, and determine measures of success. Second, study cost and constructability related to project priorities. Obtain early input from trade partners to evaluate lead times for equipment and materials, and informed decision-making to protect the design intent and programmatic needs of our facility operator. And then third, during pre-construction, they will focus on providing a guaranteed maximum price that considers the scope of work, the overall cost, and the value to the county and the project.
So we've talked about the process, and we've talked about our recommended awardee. Now we'll talk about the resulting contract. So the contract that we will be using will be an Architectural Institute of America contract, known as an AIA contract, as modified by the county council's input. We're using this contract model because it is a standard in the construction industry. The contract will include the county's community benefits bidding program requirements, require the contractor to meet all those requirements, and subcontractors. The contract will also require outreach to subcontractors and select subcontractors in a transparent manner that involves the county. The contract will be in 2 phases, with phase 1 being pre-construction work estimated to be $100,000. And once a guaranteed maximum price is established, staff will return to the board for approval of phase 2, the actual construction of the facility based on that guaranteed maximum price.
So in summary, contractor selection was made through a fair and open competitive process that complied with the public contracting code. Pence Contractors brings a good balance of experience and project familiarity at a reasonable cost. I'd like to sincerely thank both Sean and Jerry for their public comment and affirm their thoughts related to this board order. Their comments align with and support our intentional process for this award and emphasize the importance of our community benefits bidding program. Staff recommends awarding the contract for construction manager general contractor to Pence Contractors, LLC. We would like to respond to any questions or comments from the board.
Perfect, thank you. To the board, any questions? Vice Chair.
Thank you. I'll start just with some general questions. So my understanding with the GMGC contracts is they're generally used more when it's a bigger contract that's more specifically, like a more specifically tailored construction project, but I am not an expert in that and would just want to hear the feedback on why we chose it and what are the positive or negatives in doing so.
So this project has a fairly organic timeframe. As we know, we've had a lot of different challenges in the project. It's not as linear as a lot of projects would like. We're currently awaiting annexation approval from the city of Springfield, anticipated the first week in September. And so what we're trying to do right now is leverage the project team to the best of our ability at the best cost and price point to ensure that at the point of when we receive annexation, that we're prepared to hit the ground running with the project. Getting a CMGC on board now will benefit the project in several ways. As I mentioned, it'll help align the priorities for the project, help ensure that the design is currently envisioned and is concluding the schematic design portion of that based on programming needs. We'll move into design development, further refining the design, and then ultimately to construction documents in partnership with the contractor. So this particular model helps bring a contractor on board using like a 3-legged stool analogy. The contractor becomes part of the project team and helps assist the design team, the owner, and in our case, along with the program operator who will run the facility after the facility opens. It helps gives us the best leg up moving forward. And again, being able to merge along with annexation and other permitting as we get into hopefully the fall and winter months to progress as efficiently as possible.
I would also add to that that the CMGC model is known for delivering a more accurate cost estimate. That GMP is established by the construction manager general contractor going through the design process, sitting next to our TVA, our architect firm, and the county, so that when they develop that GMP, they know what they're building, right? They have looked over these plans. They have been involved in helping vet different options, so that then there's much more cost certainty than awarding a contract of this nature as a design bid build and then proceeding with changes along the way in change orders.
And I hear some of the criticisms is that Pence might not be local. And of course, part of our community benefit bidding process is that we've, made a value statement by implementing it that we want to keep the jobs here and income received for those jobs recirculating in our local economy. Can you tell me how Pence would be able to do that or not?
I can. During the RFP, the request for proposal, written RFPs, Pence addressed their subcontractor involvement process, and then also when we went to our competitive range, our interview questions, that was one of our interview questions was, can you?
Yeah, so the essence of one of the questions was Lane County requires absolute transparency and a commitment to supporting our community as far as engaging local contractors, subcontractors for the performance of their work. Again, it aligns with the requirements of our CBB program, Community Benefits Bidding Program, and received assurance not only from Pence, but other contractors that we interviewed through the competitive range interviews, all commitments and understanding of our program, even to the degree that they will take our program and include it in the contracts of the subcontractors that they will employ to assist with the CMGC contract.
And so Pence is a Oregon-based company,
Correct.
right? Okay.
And by definition, because they're an Oregon-based company and pay taxes within Oregon, they are considered a local contractor per state procurement regulations.
Okay. And so they will have to go out to their subs and, well, this is a question, I guess. I don't know the process. So as an Oregon company, they're working in Lane County. Do they pick their subs from Lane County, or how does that work?
So they will, number one, the county will work with them in developing the different bid packages to ensure that there's not large bid packages put together that smaller companies can't bid on. But so the county will assist in structuring those bid packages, and then they will publicly advertise. I'm looking through their proposal right here. They will publicly advertise the subcontracting opportunities. They will have pre-bid meetings. They will perform subcontractor outreach. It will be sealed bids for any subcontracted work that's estimated to be over $100,000. And then they will document the award recommendations that the county will then review and sign off on.
Appreciate that. I think that's all my questions.
And by the way, I read this from their proposal, but this will be included in the resulting AIA contract. So it's a legally binding document.
Mr. Lovell.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. And thank you again for all your hard work on this. This has been a long time coming for this, and obviously there's still some hurdles in front of us, like the annexation, like you described. I'm just curious, there's a couple things on the packet that the evaluation scores drew me for some questions. A couple of things about Pence being number one, Senaska being number two, and then Essex being number three. There's a couple items in there where actually Essex has a better review, a firm history, and some qualifications and experience. They're a little bit ahead of Pence. But the thing that really separated them in my mind for your scoring purposes was the criteria 5, the fee proposal. I'm wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. It shows that Essex came in at 15 points and Pence came in at 25. That's a pretty significant number difference. I'm wondering if you could explain that a little more fully for me.
Sure. So number one, the evaluation criteria, the criteria that our evaluation team would use, was stated in the request for proposal. There was the opportunity for any interested parties to protest that evaluation criteria during the RFP process. But regardless, we specifically stated cost would be scored as up to 25 points, with the lowest fee proposed receiving 25 points. And then with the next fee, any fees that are within 5% receiving 22 points. If the fees were within 10%, receiving 20 points, and then just kept going down from there. Within 15%, they would receive 15 points. Within 20%, they would receive 10 points. Within 25%, they would receive 5 points, and then everyone else would receive 2 points. Pence came in with a really, really good fee proposal, so they received the full 25 points. Essex Construction, they also came in with a great fee proposal, and they received the 15 points. The majority of the rest of the proposers were 40% higher than what Pence proposed, so they received 2 points. And we had one proposer that was actually $1 million over what Pence proposed. So Pence did, at the end of the day, we did weigh qualifications, experience, local familiarity, what's their subcontractor outreach plan going to be, how are they going to meet the community benefit bidding requirements, and also, what's this going to cost the county? What is the fee proposal based on a $25 million 18-month project? And Pence had that lowest price.
I'll say too that during the development of this project up till now, including the purchase of the land, this project has been extremely budget conscious, necessarily. We're providing a very key program to our county, but we need to do that at the best value and best cost. So there's a lot of different ways to get to that number in a proposal and on bid day. We intentionally weighted the fee proposal because we wanted to give the contractors who were bidding an opportunity to articulate how they were going to staff the project appropriately, how many months they anticipated actually taking, getting creative on removing certain aspects of the project like site fencing, project trailers, et cetera, not taking up that entire 18-month estimate, but getting more strategic about, well, I think we can pull all of that and some sort of those elements during the project out at 14 months, thereby saving general conditions costs and by lowering their fee. So there again, the best balance, the best mix with the weighted fee proposals as well as the results from the interview. Again, our recommendation is that Pence is the top candidate, and that's what we're basing our recommendation on today.
Chair, I got one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, great. I appreciate all the detail on that, because that's kind of where we're drawn down to, is some of the details on trying to make sure we're doing the best thing for our community, to have our local contractors do what they do best. I mean, I think I've used in the emails back and forth with you, our legendary contractors, if I can say that. They've been great to the community, so we want to give them the fair shake that they deserve. I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, I don't want to say only, we're spending $100,000 to find out more information about putting this project forward. I'm wondering if we approve this today and move this forward, is there a second chance for some of our local contractors to come back into the picture at a larger level, given the fact that if this was a normal project, it would just have an architect drawing, it would be put out for bid. Is there, I guess I'm hearing you say also that Essex was at 15 points, so they were about, what, 18% higher, I guess, in fees than Pence? Is that kind of what I'm interpreting as right?
I believe they were 12%.
12%, okay. So at this point, on face value, we have a contractor that has put in basically the lowest bid, I mean, if you will, based on what you're telling me. And we're talking about just the process involved. So I guess the question I have left is, if we approve this going forward to get us down the road further for the stabilization center, is there another chance that some of our local firms can come in and play a bigger role?
Yes, but it wouldn't be our first recommendation. One reason, with having a CMGC on board at this point in the project early in design is the best place to have a contractor's input during design. It helps eliminate a lot of the gaps in scope and aligns the needs of the program with the design so that when we get to construction documents, those documents are vetted. We could entertain having the contractor on board just for pre-construction. I guess there's two different thoughts. We could have them on board for pre-construction and then come to a construction document set that would then be bid out. That doesn't ensure that we're going to get better numbers on bid day because our economy is always changing, the supply chain's always changing, we don't have any guarantees. That's the benefit of having a guaranteed maximum price developed during this time, is because it does assure our top end of the budget, and we can work within that budget. If we don't have a CMGC on as part of this design effort now during pre-construction, it typically necessarily costs the architect and design team more because they're having to, in some cases, hire another consultant or sub-consultant to double-check costs, do plan check, maybe constructability reviews. That's what we're getting as part of this pre-construction effort by bringing a CMGC on at this point. So we've made a couple of alternate recommendations or get some direction from the board, but again, that will be at the choice of the board.
I would also add to that what would be one of the factors that would be less favorable there, one of the big drawbacks would be if you think about establishing that guaranteed maximum price, the county will be working with Pence contractors in their subcontracting process. We'll be assisting them in their subcontractor outreach. We'll be signing off on the subcontractors that they're choosing with those subcontractor quotes rolling up into that guaranteed maximum price. Now, if we were to take that guaranteed maximum price and say, let's take the plans and go out for bid, we could have a California contractor come in and bid it with California subcontractors. Not that there's anything wrong with California, and the county would not have input on that. It would strictly be who has provided the lowest number. With the CMGC approach, the county is going to have input into what those subcontractor outreach efforts look like and final say in that selection.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm just struggling with, I've got a group of guys sitting here in the auditorium that I'd certainly like to give work to because heaven forbid Lane County is way behind in building a lot of things. And I've been hearing rumors that some of our big trade people are starting to take their families and move elsewhere. And that upsets me a little bit because, if we're looking at building, like, for example, Eugene, 1,600 homes that they're behind every single year, where are we going to find folks to build that? So this is kind of where I'm weighing the two out. And so far, you've made a great case of saying that this is the most feasible, economical way to go. And how do those economics then play long-term with the kind of money that stays in the community and builds the community is what I'm juggling in my head. So I'm kind of waffling on this right now, I have to be honest.
If I could address that, as I sat here and I listened to some of the local contractors present, I really do appreciate all of you coming out. And also reading through some of the email that we've received. There's concerns, right? There's local concerns in our local construction community. And so David and I have been talking about how do we align our goals, right? How do we align getting best value for these construction projects, getting them delivered on time and within budget, and also get local involvement and ensure that the funding is staying here locally. And we've been bouncing ideas back and forth for the last few weeks. And one of the things we came up with is we could have an open house with contractors, perhaps invite some of our local government partners to it, invite all of our local contracting community, and really get down into and have some discussions around CMGC versus design bid build, discuss our community benefits bidding program, discuss upcoming projects, and really have just kind of make those connections. Will that benefit this project? I don't see that, but at least for projects going forward, because I'd much rather have that conversation with David and I in an open house setting versus the next time we come to the board to request a CMGC, having public comment and all the negative input, not negative input, but all the feedback.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're suggesting maybe a future work session, including our partners and yourselves and the board, and kind of get this future figured out what our vision really is?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, because there's some definite concern. We heard that loud and clear.
Yeah.
One of the things we also want to help them understand is, or get a better understanding of, what are the things that we consistently see with strong proposals, and what are the things that we consistently see with some of the weaker proposals, including not being able to name staff, proposed staff for a proposal. There's some major details, I think, that maybe they just don't have an understanding about exactly what we're looking for, but again, we gave opportunity to formally protest that back when we first requested this contracting method, because we knew this contracting method would be an excellent fit for this particular project.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Farr.
Thank you. I'll talk a little bit more about the project in a second, but the first thing I want to say is that, as a board member, I take pride, immense pride in trusting staff and their analysis and the presentation and recommendations that staff makes. I also take tremendous pride in understanding that as an elected official, we are the backstop for the decisions that staff offers us. And occasionally we may disagree with staff. Through my analysis, I may disagree with staff. And when I do, then I receive, input on my analysis. Because no matter what conclusions we draw from our analysis, other people will draw different conclusions from their analysis. And if they differ from yours, then they'll have issues with your analysis. That being said, I do trust staff, and I do trust the analysis you make, because you're charged to do it, you take time to do it, and you're thorough in the public process. And both of you, time and time again, I've trusted your decisions, and I've never been embarrassed by the decisions that I've trusted from you, and that continues. That's just a backdrop for this. Now, regarding community benefits, it's something we do adhere to here in Lane County, and we try to adhere to that. People may wonder what that means, and a couple of quick definitions: that programs, investments, or legally enforceable agreements designed to improve the health, economic standing, and quality of life for a local population. I think we all agree with that. And in urban planning and infrastructure, community benefits refers to positive outcomes such as workforce training, local hiring, environmental mitigation, infrastructure investments, et cetera. There are a lot of things that go into community benefits. And there are some things that occasionally are at odds with what other people may feel are community benefits. Because a benefit is your own personal decision as to what a benefit actually means. I appreciate you both legitimized and you both agreed with the comments given by Sean Hyland and by Jerry Valencia. I'm glad that you're here this morning, both of you, because you are pillars of our community in terms of how do we build infrastructure, how do we get things built. When I drive around town, I see Essex Construction, who built Food for Lane County, among other things. I see Chambers Construction, who built Jerry's, among other things. I see Highland, I see Hamilton, I see Wildish, all local contractors who are dealing with local populations, hiring local people, and keeping their money as local as we can legitimately expect. So when we look at Pence, who is out of Portland, and I live in Bethel, the Danabo renovation, we've just closed Clear Lake Elementary. We're consolidating into Danabo, and it needed to be remodeled, and Pence got the nod on that for the same reasons that they're getting the nod on this. Now, I fear when a company from a larger metropolitan area, even though they are local, even though Multnomah County is in Oregon, Multnomah County is in so many ways not very much like Lane County. And Portland is in so many ways not much like the rest of Oregon. Sometimes it feels like it's a different community. And, I think we need to bridge that and make sure that people understand that we are working locally. The way that we can do that, and I trust your decision-making at this point, by the way. The way we can do that is through the subcontracting process. And ensuring that community benefits, as described, are continued through the subcontracting process, and that some of those community benefits include workforce training, local hiring, et cetera. And so as the dynamics of a long project, it changes. We received information from Mr. Valencia regarding, actually it was from Mr. Highland, I believe, regarding Springfield and a project that they actually fired their contractor on and rehired, and they got the bid on the rehire, which in retrospect, maybe it should have gone that way to begin with. But the best decision-making went into that final decision. You're ensuring me that we are strictly following our process with the outcome and the recommendations that you made. And while I may disagree with some of the points along the way, ultimately, you are charged with making this recommendation to us. And ultimately, as a board, we are charged with approving the recommendation or rejecting and saying, go back and do it again. And that's where we are today, is do we take it or do we say, go back and do it again? Well, it is a long project, and we're at a long time, we're deep into it, and the more we can move forward as quickly as possible, that is no small part of the decision-making process today, is how do we get to the next step as quickly as possible without short-circuiting the players along the way. And you can do that by reassuring me that should we agree with PENS today, agree with the CMGC process and go forward with this, that we will be closely monitoring the subcontracting that will occur. A great deal of subcontracting, as pointed out by our local contractors. They stated that during the public testimony today. That how does that happen? And you've said in testimony this morning from you that we are a part of that process. That we'll monitor every step along the way. Is that accurate? Will we?
Correct.
We'll be doing that.
Yes, we'll be involved.
And holding their feet to the fire to make sure that they uphold our standards of hiring locally, training locally, and bringing local people into work. We also have other issues with subcontractors that has been raised in the past, and the more we take it out of our hands, the easier it is for subcontractors to hire somebody under the table. We know that happens. It does happen, and it's been pointed out to us by numerous different sources. Can we assure that that's not going to happen through the subcontracting process, which is no small part of community benefit? So answer yes or no.
We can reduce our risk.
We can reduce our risk. Okay. Then that's something that we need to talk about, because the risk that we reduce for us, the more we reduce that risk, is exponentialized in the community, because the risk of using unqualified, under-the-table subcontractors or subcontractors who are one step removed from our process doing that same thing, tremendous risk to the community on that.
And we've seen that on previous projects in a hard bid type of a scenario, because we don't have any control or any involvement up to that point. We're just giving them a design for them to bid, and then we have to manage that in large part with additional resources and costs throughout the project. That's why we feel this sets us up for the best.
That was a good answer to an unfair question. Thank you. And when I say unfair, I didn't prepare you with that question, so I think you responded pretty well to that. That being said, this is a big project. It's going to be dynamic. It will change. Costs will change significantly. Look at what's happened in the last 5 years and the cost of not just building materials, but real estate. And I don't know what we can predict in the future. I don't have that crystal ball, so things will happen. And as things do change, I trust that the CMGC process allows us to be closely attuned along the way, to be no small part of every step along the way to make sure that adherence to our standards is being continued.
Yes.
Okay. I may have some more questions. The project is a big project, and the project itself has local opposition. It's a controversial project, and so arousing controversy in the awarding of the bids is not something that we have the latitude to do. We need to make sure that the people we serve in Lane County are being served to the best of our ability. That's why we're here as the backstop, but that's why the board has the final decision-making in this. I'm not the expert on making this decision in the analysis. My analysis comes in no small part with the trust of your analysis. So thank you, and I may have more questions. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Trigger, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Working backwards from that, thank you for some of those points. Commissioner Farr, you actually mentioned in your presentation, I think very specifically, the process of the subcontractors and the amount of collaboration that's required between Lane County. And in this case, should we approve this, PENS, that sets us up for the best success with the subs relative to Commissioner Farr's concern. Can you restate what that is? That it's required, right? It's in the...
Yeah, so they have assured us that they will take the CBB program that we have and actually include it in their subcontracts and have, and also explain the why to the potential bidders. So making sure that the subcontractors that they're going to bring on board understand why we have the CBB program in place, the importance and the commitment to it. And so they will include in their bidding process public advertising, clear scope documents, pre-bid meetings with all of the potential responders, and then have sealed bids for subcontracted work over $100,000, documented award recommendations, and good faith efforts to obtain at least 3 bids for major scopes. And again, we will have the opportunity to review and be involved with their subcontractor selection, to voice any concerns. But like I said, the CBB requirements will become a part of their contracts to their subcontractors.
Yeah, and that part that we're involved, so that addresses, right, what the issues that we've experienced in the past on other projects. We sort of, imperfect language, but wrote a blank check to the general contractor and then didn't have eyes on what was happening below them in a way that was very different than this process.
There's a level of engagement on this with this model, and there's a level of removal in a hard bid type of a scenario.
And to be clear, because we heard some testimony, we should have put it out for bid instead of CMGC. It was a bid process. It was just a CMGC. The bid was to be the CMGC. So I just want to make clear to the public, it's not like we went and shopped for someone and picked them. There wasn't an open bid process.
There was a competitive solicitation performed. It was a request for proposal. Technically, it was a request for proposal versus an invitation to bid.
Right, okay, got it, thank you. And also to be clear, this board directed using the CMGC process for this project on a 5-0 vote.
Correct.
Okay. And Pence, while they are local by the definition that we have available to us in that they're an Oregon company, local hiring, I think when I chatted with you prior to this with some of my questions as we started receiving emails, they do employ Lane County. You gave me, I think, a percentage of workforce on their most recent Lane County job on the Peace Health Rehab Hospital of folks who are actually Lane County residents paying Lane County property taxes, spending the money that goes into their pocket out the door to local stores. What was that number of their employees?
Sure, so on their pre-construction team, what was it, 3 or 4?
I think 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. We'll go with 3. 3 of their project managers that will be involved in the pre-construction phase have lived in the Eugene Springfield area, all 3 of them for over 20 years.
Thank you. And I also just want to be clear, when we talk about what is this going to cost the county, we're saying what is this going to cost taxpayers, just to make clear. This is not about the county as some sort of theoretical entity. This is public dollars so that, because I looked at that criteria matrix and I agree with Commissioner, I had some of the same questions for you. Well, this one's so much higher here, but this one's, and that's how that works, right? When you have a range and of criteria and then you just take the cumulative score. So my understanding, again, on the process side, is there have been opportunities for protest, both the criteria itself, the RFP structure, and then the award. And you received no feedback, no protest through the channels that were made evidently available that is the way to do that.
Correct, and also there was a protest period allowed for selection of the competitive range. So if you were one of the 10 proposers but did not move on to the top 3 for interviews, there was a protest period allowed there. And then there was also the opportunity to come to the board and comment when back on May 5th when we requested approval for the alternative contracting method.
Great, thank you. I think the last 2 points I will make, one, I will just say this is a conversation we've been sort of wrestling with across a number of different projects, contracts, service provision around local as it relates to procurement for Lane County. It's sort of an ongoing long-term policy discussion that we should figure out how and when we want to have it and not try to sort of backdoor a decision about a local preference or policy for procurement based on a project, because that gets dicey and challenging, and the pressures are very different than us having a really open generative, thoughtful conversation across the dais about what do we mean by local, how do we apply it to procurement, how do we set that policy? And because it's different, right, in a construction project than in a service delivery on the human services side, there's different requirements and other considerations. So I really appreciate that this has elevated once again for us, this and the item directly before it, where we just awarded a contract to a Florida-based company, even though some Oregon companies bid it, that this is a conversation, a policy conversation for this board to have outside of a specific project. I just want to flag that. The final thing that I want to say is, I think, the most important thing, which is to remind ourselves what this is bidding to do, which is to build our Behavioral Health Stabilization Center, which has been far too long in the making. And that, not to be hyperbolic or overly dramatic, but literally people are dying. Every day that we delay this project, whether it's through our inaction or whether it's through whatever it might be, whether it's through neighboring property folks who don't like it, the fact of this project specifically, very much uniquely in relation to, again, the one prior, the consequence of every delay on this project of any kind is about human lives and every person that touches that human life. And we should never forget that about this project. It is critically important that we remember that. The amount of suffering, the degree to which we have people who are so severely ill in our community that could have been avoided had we built this project even 1 year ago, 2 years ago, let alone 10 years ago when we, it is just something we should never forget, and that should just always motivate and impel us to make sure we are never the barrier to forward motion on this project. So thank you very much for bringing this forward. I'm very excited to get us to this step, and appreciate all your work and all your time answering all my questions prior to today. And I do very much appreciate the folks who came out to speak and sent us emails, and just encourage you to use the process, connect with these folks. I love this idea of a sort of conversation with our local construction industry around how do we make these decisions, basically how can we help you be more successful in winning these kind of proposals. I'm in favor of all of that, but mostly I'm in favor of this proposal because it gets us one step closer to opening the doors on this critically needed service. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we've had some great conversation here. We're running up against the clock, but and a couple of the commissioners have hit on this, but how did we weigh the scores of the CMGC? Were all the categories the same? Because I see a couple in there that I was just curious if you weigh, say, firm history the same as, project staffing or project approach. I mean, those seems like two different categories, and I might personally prioritize those differently.
Don't remember. It's been a crazy 2 months working on this project. I can tell you that firm history received 10 points. Mac, you could receive up to 10 points for firm history. The fee proposal was up to 25 points. Qualifications and experience, I believe, was up to 25 points. And that was there was another criteria in there, and that led to the written RFP, and then we went to competitive range. We asked 5 questions, and each question was worth 10 points. And those scores were added on to the written RFP scores to come up with the final score. And I can follow up with you, Chair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you already spent an hour in the office answering as many of the questions. And I just thought of that one as we were talking through this, because, looking at the, the criteria 5 fee proposal, I mean, we've got 25 to 15 to 22 twos. I mean, that just seems like such a range for some, for these contractors that were so close in other categories to be off by,
So the scoring criteria for the weighted scores for the fee proposal were different than a numerical score between 0 and 10, for example, for the other questions. They were weighted, that particular criteria was weighted more than the other scores, and it was weighted within itself. So like Sean explained, for the lowest proposer, they received 25 points. The second lowest proposer received 22 points, and so on and so forth.
Sorry, within 5%.
Or within 5%, yeah, so like whoever the three next lowest also received.
So there's 25 points for the lowest cost. And there's different ways to evaluate cost. You can do a straight percentage. So if you're 50% higher, you're going to receive 50% less points. But what we did is we set up a bracket system to where the lowest proposed fee received the full 25 points. And then if you were within 5%, you received 22 points. If you were within 10%, you received 20 points. And then if you were within 15 points, you received 20 points. If you were within 10%, you received 15 points. And if you were within, it kept stepping it down from there.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? It
does.
Okay.
Yeah, sliding scale.
And just to reiterate, that was included in the request for proposal. And if anyone had questions about that criteria, they could have asked, or they could have filed a protest that if they felt the evaluation criteria was unfair for some reason.
Gotcha. Okay, so winner got 25 points, and say somebody missed it by 1%, they're right at 22 points, or would they have stayed?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And as I mentioned, so we received 10 proposals. Pence Contractors and Essex Construction and SB James Construction. They all three of them were within, I think, 20% of Pence Contractors. From there, by far, the majority of the proposals were 40% or more, 40% higher in cost. Therefore, they received 2 points.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, and I should have started this by telling Lauren, thank you for allowing these guys to spend some time in the office and bounce a lot of questions and ideas off each other. It was very helpful. Thank you for your time. Because yes, it was a 5-0 vote to continue on, but it was a 5-0 vote with concerns, and we're seeing those concerns currently. So right now you have your GMP, you have your guaranteed maximum price?
No.
You don't yet. So that's back to kind of where Commissioner Lovell was at. If you get a guaranteed maximum price from Pence that you don't like, somebody else could come in and take that bid over?
If we receive a guaranteed maximum price and we do not feel that that's a fair price, or that we could do better, so to speak, then we can cancel the CMGC contract, take our full design documents, and go out for sealed bid.
Oh, okay.
But like I mentioned before, we would not have any control over the subcontractors that were chosen, other than the first tier subcontractors would have to be pre-qualified in our community benefit bidding program. But we have a lot more input into the subcontractor selection and outreach with the CMGC model versus the design bid build model.
Well, giving a high guaranteed maximum price if they're pretty certain we're going to stick with them through the process.
Because we are directly involved, the owner is involved, the program operator is involved, the design team is involved, and the contractor is involved. So it is a continuous process of working together to arrive at a GMP.
And the GMP is based on the percent that they put in their proposal, which was 1.99%. So they will charge us 1.99% over their cost of the project.
For the CMGC process, gotcha.
That's how we come to the GMP.
Yeah, thank you. So one last question really is then, this has gone through the process. We've got our guaranteed maximum price. How do we justify any change orders at that point? Or do you foresee any change orders? I mean, as Commissioner Farr said, there's a lot of eyes on this project, and there's going to be a lot of people watching this. So excuse me.
No, I was just asking a question. Is that the same as this, addressing schedule challenges on the? No. Oh, okay, thank you.
So, how do we justify any change orders at that point if something goes awry, if you will?
So there will be change orders. That's fair to say, right? But with the guaranteed maximum price, they've been involved in the design phase. They understand the design inside and out when they give us that guaranteed maximum price. The AIA contract does a really good job of describing all this and what can be included, what cannot be included. But what I'll tell you is during our fee proposal, in the written request for proposals that we received, we requested what is your percent that you're going to charge us over? So what's your profit percent, so to speak? And it was 1.99 from Pence Contractors. Everybody gave us a number. And then there were the general conditions that David was referring to just a moment ago. And those general conditions list out, I mean, it's a huge list of things. It's temporary fencing, how much per month for your job trailer, how much for portable toilets on site per month, how much for water cups. I mean, we really tried to drill in and cover every possible cost that they could add in there. How much are dumpsters per month, right? And so we collected all those costs, and those costs will roll into the final contract. Beyond that, change orders, once we get a full design and we get that GMP and we get out there in the field, and things could arise, and that would be a change order. But those would arise. I imagine those would arise with the design bid build model also.
Yes. Yeah. Just the point of this process is to minimize or eliminate that. I mean, maybe not eliminate. Yes. That's we live in this world, but to minimize. And that was, so with the extra cost of this CMGC process, what's that break even? I guess we don't know that, but in my head, this is what I'm processing.
This will be a great study because at the end, per the public contracting code, at the end of the project, within 30 days of project completion, we are required to come back to the board with written findings of the value of utilizing the CMGC process, actually the value of exempting the project from a design bid build model. So we will come back to the board upon completion of this project with written findings that will either say the CMGC model was great and here's why, or in the future perhaps we should lean more into design bid build and here's why.
Yeah. And that's what I'm struggling with, because I'm a hard bid design build, especially new building, new ground. I mean, it's not like you're in downtown over here where you're cutting through, you've got gas lines, data. I mean, it should be, it's a filbert orchard. It should be fairly virgin soil out there. But
Chair, if I may,
please.
So I know in a couple of recent projects, we've expended an inordinate amount of resource to manage and get to the actual finish line with a hard bid project scenario. I would suggest, I'm not going to throw a dollar amount, but I would say it's in the, I would say at least upper tens of thousands, if not into 100,000s, both with legal counsel's collaboration, our own CPFM team, procurement, and finance budget. There's been a huge amount of resource that have been required to get a couple of these projects to the finish line because we didn't have a vetted scope of work when it was put out for bid. And we dealt with that through the entire project. And that's why we are strongly recommending this model, because it really fits this project where we are in the timeline of this project, and will set us up for the best success moving forward.
Okay. Final question, then we need to move to our decision here. Who at the county is going to be involved in packaging up the subcontractors?
As far as reviewing them, the contractor will actually package those up, but it'll involve our capital projects team at a minimum.
Yeah, because you said Lane County will be involved in our packaging up the subcontractors, so.
And I would suggest we also want to do another level of due diligence, potentially involving our contract, expert with county council, and getting them involved. So we make sure that we don't end up with some of those, some potential subcontractors that either aren't licensed, bonded, appropriately for this type of project, making sure we're laying another set of eyes on their proposed subcontractors.
Well, knowing Ms. Vario, she's probably already on it.
She has been.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, well, I think we've exhausted this. We're up on our time. Do you have any motions?
Prepared? We're ready?
Vice Chair?
I'll move approval of Order 26-07-14-15 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Vice Chair to approve Order 2607-1415 in the matter of awarding a contract for construction manager, general contractor services for the Lane Stabilization Center to Pence Contractors, LLC, and delegating authority to the county administrator to sign contract and all amendments that do not cause the contract to exceed $100,000. Seconded by Commissioner Trieger. Discussion?
To the motion?
Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. October 21st, 2019, a date I remember very, very well. Commissioner Trieger and I toured the old Bon Marché building downtown, and that was the great final site for the stabilization center. Wonderful final site. It received opposition, and we backed away from it. If we hadn't backed away from it at that time, maybe we'd be operating now. Maybe we'd be saving lives now. That's not to say we can't pay full attention to due diligence as we go forward, but this project is overripe. We need to move forward as quickly as possible without delay, not cutting any corners by any stretch of the imagination. And I will state, Chair, that the robust conversation that we've had today will lend itself to future conversations regarding capital improvements, including, Mr. Ward, the next conversation we're going to have. Stick around for the next item on today's agenda. We'll be talking about our capital improvement plan and how we're moving forward. Today's conversation will inform future decisions. I'm convinced of that. Thank you for your presentation today. And again, I have trusted your work, and we're at a point in time where we need to move forward. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Just a final comment. You shared that the county's been burned with design build in the past. And this is just a word of encouragement. We have contractors here that are local, that do this all the time. I'm really hoping everybody can take up on the offer to have those conversations and meet together so that we don't have that again in the future, and that we can work in partnership, because we want to see these projects built. We know our contractors want to see these projects built and employ their folks in the community as well. But we need to have ongoing conversations, not like just a one-time open house or something. I would like to see those partnerships be stronger in the future. So when we have these conversations where we're getting input from both our local contracting community and everybody in-house has already had a chance to have these conversations. And this is maybe a little bit easier in the future to award these contracts.
Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. To the motion, thank you again for your staff time and all your expertise. And it looks like all of us has garnered your office for at least an hour of time, so you have that as an advantage. Commissioner Farr mentioned the date as, what would you say, was June 21st or October 21st?
October 21st.
I have another date for you. It's June 16th. 4 years ago, my son died from mental illness. And I don't want to be over dramatic, over emotional, but I join Commissioner Trieger, and this project's overdue. And if we need to have a work session and a conversation with our partner contractors as to how we do business going forward in the future, I think that's the best thing we could do at this point. But I also think the best thing we could do at this point is save some lives. If I could turn the clock back and that Bon Marché building was maybe built at that particular time, maybe my outcome and my family would have been different. And I don't want to look any other family in the face and tell them that because we were trying to figure a way to finagle somewhat or whatever reason they give us why we delayed this project. I don't want to delay this project anymore. And so in light of that, I do want to apologize to my contractor friends. I got to support this motion because I think we need this project. But we need to bring ourselves back to the table to make sure that our local contractors and our employees and the people that make this community great and what it is come to the table, that we can help them succeed. I think that's our responsibility going forward as a county. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you again for your time, gentlemen.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Order 2607-1416, matter of adopting fiscal year 26-27 to fiscal year 30-31 Lane County Capital Improvement Plan. We have Ms. Moody coming to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. So we have a presentation for you, and we have two of our categories, project categories in the CIP, where we'll have them highlight a few projects for you. That'll be in facilities and then roads and bridges. So we will jump right in. I know you've had a long morning, so some of this will be you've heard before. So this is the 9th year that the county has put together, 9th year in a row, where we've put together a combined capital improvements project plan. And so it's a 5-year plan. We renew and look at it every year to refresh it for changes that have been made. We do have 3 types of projects that you will see in the plan. They're standard, where we've identified funding, planning processes have been completed, we're ready to move forward. Pre-planning, where we're finding projects, identified needs, but a piece of it, planning or funding has not been identified. And then there was also a desire by the board years ago to include community investments. So those are going to be facilities or roads where we have an investment from the county, but not necessarily owned by the county, where we'd be putting a contribution in. We've kept the monetary threshold of $50,000, so projects that are in this plan are at least that dollar amount. Project categories, this does cover more than facilities, which you've had a robust conversation this morning on a facility project, but we're also looking at things like fleet systems, parks, including campgrounds, jetties and covered bridges, roads and bridges, if there's a technology system upgrade, and then solid waste, the landfill, the transfer stations, resource recovery facility. So some highlights for you of this plan. There are 29 projects that are considered standard. 8 of those are facilities, 6 in parks, 14 in roads, and 1 in solid waste. It's $109.7 million in strategic capital investments over the next 5 years, with 46% of that total being in the next budget year, or current budget year. We've crossed July 1st. So the goals in connection to other planning efforts. So this does rely on goals that we've set in the beginning, that the county has set, creation of a coordinated capital planning document where you can see all of these types of projects in one document, as opposed to having individual plans by category. And our goal is to provide policymakers, you as decision makers, the community, the ability to analyze planned projects and support prioritization and decision-making efforts. There are other planning efforts and guidance that we look to, the Lane County Strategic Plan being one of those. There are many committees that review these projects before they arrive in the CIP document to you. Master planning efforts that have occurred in multiple areas around the county. And then we look to policies, best practices as we develop the plan and provide the information. And then the project process that occurs is each fall, we reach out to departments before we begin our budget process to get an initial list of what they believe is coming up for the next year. If they believe there's projects that will meet the standard criteria, those are built into the budget from the time of the proposed budget. And then we look as we come up on adoption, which we just completed a few weeks ago, we say, what new information have we received throughout the budget process? What needs changed in order for us to then come up with this adopted document for you? And I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to give some summary for you.
Thanks for having us. I'm here to provide a project summary of the standard forms that are in this FY27 through FY31 capital improvement plan. As Christine mentioned, we have several project categories, and there are 4 project categories that are represented in the standard forms in this plan. In terms of project amounts, that shakes out to be the highest amount for facilities at $37.7 million, and that's roughly 34.4% of the planned spending. Closely followed by solid waste at $35 million, which is just shy of 32%, and then of course roads at $30.7 million, and then of course we have our parks projects as well. Another snapshot for you to give a sense of the timing of these projects over the 5-year period of the plan would be this chart, which shows clearly the project amounts in year 1 and 2 being significantly higher than those in the out years, although we do have some planned spending in years 3 and 4, but nothing currently planned for year 5. As you may recall, these projects have a variety of funding sources, the Capital Improvement Fund and the Road Fund being critical for both facilities and roads projects. We also have some projects funded by the general fund and user fees, as well as state and federal grants. Some of these projects may also be funded by bonds or debt, and that is noted in the plan itself. As one quick reminder, traditionally through this process, the county administrator receives delegated authority for road and bridge projects under 10 years, but the other projects, non-road and bridge projects, must come to BCC for contract approval. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Cassidy Mills, Transportation Planning Supervisor, and David Ward, Capital Planning and Facilities Manager. They will be here to provide some updates about some of the projects in the plan.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Vice Chair, and thank you, Commissioners, for your time today. Our primary focus remains delivering capital projects even as resources tighten. In fiscal year 2027, we will be constructing 2 large capital projects, Marcola Pavement Preservation and the Goodpasture Bridge Seismic Retrofit and Fire Mitigation, along with designing projects for future delivery and managing construction projects for other divisions. We are continuing to shrink the capital program for roads and bridges due to the state of the road fund, putting needed road and bridge preservation efforts on hold. We continue to aggressively pursue grants to expand our capital program. The State Highway Fund does need to increase or a local funding solution implemented in order for Lane County to avoid severe reductions in transportation services and infrastructure preservation. Ongoing underinvestment will lead to roadway and bridge system degradation and higher long-term costs due to inflation and deferred maintenance. Now, leading into our Marcola Pavement Preservation project, the budget in the CIP is currently $2 million. The project is funded primarily by the portion of Secure Rural Schools funds that are allocated to the road fund. Additionally, we anticipate cost savings from our current pavement project on Lorraine Highway that will allow us to extend pavement preservation efforts to milepost 7 and will add roughly $400,000 to the total cost. In addition to pavement preservation, this project is also safety-focused. The project extent is identified as high priority in the Transportation Safety Action Plan, with higher crash rates than most county roads. To address these risks, this project will include safety countermeasures to address crash patterns, including sinusoidal rumble strips to alert drivers of lane departures, high contrast materials for pavement markings, and advanced warning signs to alert drivers of changing road conditions. This project will also include American Disability or ADA ramps in alignment with the county's ADA transition plan. The second large capital project in fiscal year 27 is the Goodpasture Covered Bridge retrofit. The bridge provides sole access for more than 80 residences in a large area of forest lands. It's also the second largest covered bridge in Oregon at 165 feet and is known as Oregon's most photographed covered bridge. It was built in 1938 and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This project will construct a seismic retrofit of the bridge to improve its resilience to earthquakes, such as a Cascadia subduction zone event. Retrofit elements are expected to include installing rock anchors at the west end of the bridge, which is the highway end, and removing weak soil at the east end. The structure is timber and therefore at a higher risk from fire. The 2020 Holiday Farm fire came very close to the bridge, which was saved by fire suppression efforts. In general, the lower elevation of the Western Cascade Range are considered very likely to experience increasing wildfire frequency and intensity due to climate change. This project is expected to include fire mitigation measures such as sprinklers or fire-resistant materials, and the design effort was grant funded. Thank you.
Morning again, Chair, Commissioners. So we want to take an opportunity to highlight a couple of really key projects that are currently in process. The first is the facility and technology upgrade at our Lane County Adult Corrections Facility. This project has been in process for nearly 2 years. We're scheduled to wrap up here in September with our substantial completion. It's actually gone fairly smooth in spite of a couple of findings regarding fire code. It's actually been a really good opportunity to bolster some inspection certification for the entire facility, which was presumed previously, but then we found out that some of the information we believe had gotten lost somewhere between the city of Eugene and Lane County in years past. And so in spite of some of these extra costs and extra time, we are coming in under budget on this project. We're grateful to have the contractor CML on this project. I will say, as a dovetail to the prior conversation, they have hired EC, Wildish, and other local contractors to support this project. That was definitely something that they heard from us when we awarded them the contract about the importance of keeping as much local. And so this project, I want to give a shout out to the project contractor and the team. This project has focused on upgrading security systems, detention equipment, glazing, changing from the old wire glass to new ballistic glass, upgrading the fire alarm and life safety systems. And there's also some select mechanical and electrical system upgrades as part of this project, providing better resilience at the jail and a better facility for our adults in custody, visitors and family, and all facility personnel. And funding for this project largely came from the former American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, monies, and were basically utilized from the general fund, totaling about $17.5 million for the entire project. And again, we're coming in under budget, which is always a good thing to articulate. Next is the project that we have spoken a lot about over the years and finally seen come to fruition. This is for the public service building, the central plant upgrade. And this picture is fairly representative of a lot of conditions in both of our public service building and the courthouse because of the age of the equipment. A lot of the equipment in there is from late 50s, 60s vintage with some components being replaced over the years. But this is a wholesale replacement of nearly all of the mechanical, plumbing, electrical systems serving this building. That will provide, again, better resilience and operational efficiency of our entire downtown block. This also is $17.1 million total project cost. And I wanted to mention, too, the finalized 2026 bond sale as a 2026 full faith and credit obligating bond is providing $13 million in funding for this project and confirms we're on track to meet the project's needs and not have to go out and request additional funding. So that's being split between the bond and capital fund for this project. And we're targeting substantial completion next December. So again, this is a long-term project. I think it's been looming in a lot of minds, and again, it's great to be able to come to the table and advance this project forward, again, with board's support. Thank you.
Right, thank you. That concludes our presentation. So if there's any questions or comments, I will just note this is the first year that we did not come to the board with a draft plan in December, which we had done for a number of years. The board had said, okay, to just come with the final plan. So if you have any comments or things that you'd like to see differently, this would be the opportunity to let us know that as well, and we'll plan for that next year. Thank you.
The board. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. You know, we don't have a lot of time to talk about this, but you pointed out one thing, Mr. Ward, regarding the Lane County Adult Corrections technology upgrades. You're using local companies for that. That's no small part of the discussion we had prior to this. And when inviting you back to the table, which you were already coming anyway, I anticipated some mention of using local contractors in our capital improvement plan, which is a rolling plan. The only other thing I'm going to say, Chair, is regarding the Goodpasture Island Bridge. I'm glad, Ms. Cassidy, that you brought it forward to us, because that is a cool bridge. The most photographed bridge in, did you say in the nation? Covered bridge in the nation? Yeah, at least in Oregon. Well, I'm going to tell you one quick thing about that bridge. About 47 years ago, when I returned from active duty, I'd bought a camera at the PX, and my wife took her very first picture ever in her life of that bridge. So it is a significant photographic landmark. Just a tiny aside. Thanks very much. Lots to say about this, and over the next 6 years, you'll hear me say more. So thank you.
Mr. Trigger.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Of the $6.1 million for parks, how much of that is funded through the levy? Do we know that offhand?
That piece, they typically will discuss the funding on each project individually. I don't
Right, that's why I was starting to scroll through. I just searched parks, and I was like, well, there's 84 mentions, so I'll just ask you if you know. But I'm assuming the majority of it, right?
Correct.
That
I mean,
is
that is their
levy
main
funds.
funding
Yeah.
source for capital improvements.
Okay,
yes.
great. Thank you.
I just had one question. What City Administrator Michaels brought up about Jeans and Territorial. Cassidy, if you have any thoughts on that, or? David's running away. He's tired of being up there.
Thank you for the question, Chair. I really appreciated City Administrator Michael's time coming to give public comment. He spoke a little bit about the Veneta Elmira Community Path. That has been a project in the works for over a decade, as the administrator noted, and we were elated to receive funding from the Oregon Community Paths Program to construct a portion of that path, which will connect Veneta to the unincorporated community of Elmira. And so the administrator's comment was specific to the Territorial Highway and Jeans intersection. This particular intersection has been on our traffic engineer's radar for a few years because, as the administrator noted, the current development conditions are resulting in the intersection failing. So our development staff have been in close communication with city staff as to proposed solutions for this intersection that will be exacerbated by continued development. I will note that the fate of this particular intersection does have some entanglement with the 126 intersection with Territorial Highway. The state is currently evaluating a roundabout at this location, which will influence any proposed solutions at this particular intersection, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue discussions with city staff as to what the potential solutions for alleviation of congestion at this intersection might entail.
That would be a wild roundabout.
There is significant right-of-way in this location, and my understanding is that the state does have funding to evaluate the design in this location. That would be a conversation that we would have at an MPC level with, or rather with our partner at the MPC, Bill Johnston, who is the planner at the state. And our senior transportation planner, Becky Taylor, has been in close communications with the state's planner as to the future of this particular roundabout.
Okay. Well, just as long as we're working towards it, and yeah, I know there are complications there.
It is a strange location, but we are committed to seeing a solution that serves the community we've already had one meeting with staff within the last 4 months as to what a potential solution might entail. And that's city staff, excuse me.
Before Fern Ridge, that was Route F. That was the main route to the coast before Fern Ridge was built.
Thanks, Cassidy, appreciate it.
I appreciate the question, Chair.
If that's it, I'm ready for a motion. Okay.
I will move approval of Order 26-07-14-16 as presented.
Second?
A motion by Vice Chair to approve Order 2607-14-16 in the matter of adopting the fiscal year 26-27 to fiscal year 30-31 Lane County Capital Improvement Plan, delegating authority to the county administrator or sub-designee to sign contracts for road and bridge projects that do not exceed 10 years, seconded by Commissioner Lovell. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now, today's Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one executive session. The session is to, do you want to do announcements first, or do you want to do those at the end of the
You
day?
can do it in like 3 minutes. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I actually have 5 things, but I got a clock on myself here. So first, I wanted to note that relative to the capital improvement plan approval that you just did, as the board is aware, we met with Moody's Investor Services a few weeks ago, myself, Christine Moody, Greg Holmes, Lauren Blythe, and Mary Vukes at Schaefer, along with our bond counsel. We made a really strong pitch about why we should not only maintain, but hopefully increase. Moody's actually told us on the call that they are reaffirming, that they were preparing to reaffirm, and they have since done that. So I think I sent some information out to the board, but I just want to note, we increased our bond rating twice in 2017 from a AA3 to a AA2, in 2019 from a AA2 to a AA1, second highest rating that Moody's offers. A high bond rating equals a low interest rate when we borrow money for capital projects. So I just want to make that note for you there. Second, we received, and I have these maps from your first public commenter today. Judy Williams, our interim public works director, is monitoring, and I did communicate with her about this matter specifically. I'll provide this to Jessica. She'll scan it and send it out to commissioners, and you can be assured that our public works and land management code compliance team will follow up on that matter. Third, drought conditions. Fewer emergency management updates, so 3 more here. Drought conditions. You may be aware that there have been a number of emergency declarations for droughts across Oregon. 21 of 36 counties are now included under the governor's statewide declaration. Our team in Lane County has been in close contact with our water master, and she continues to assure us that there are no requests for assistance coming from major water users in Lane County. So we have not brought a declaration forward to the board. We will continue to monitor drought conditions monitor that situation closely and report back to the board in August if those conditions should change. So I just want you to know we're monitoring drought conditions, and we'll come to you if we need to make an emergency declaration. Fourth, 2026 fire season update. We've had a handful of small fires, maybe because our agencies and our communities are getting good at this, because it's every year we're dealing with wildfire, but they have been, the small fires have been attacked aggressively and contained. We're starting to see, so no major issues here in Lane County. We're starting to see some larger fires elsewhere around the state, and some of our local fire departments are sending their staff and units to assist, including resources from Eugene Springfield, Lane Fire Authority, South Lane Fire, McKenzie Fire, and Upper McKenzie Fire Districts have been deployed to the East Evans Creek Fire down in Jackson County near Shady Cove. So again, monitoring, nothing of major concern here in Lane County. Resources are being deployed to other places, which is a good thing, and we will continue to update you on that. We continue to encourage people to make good decisions to prevent wildfire. So this is a responsibility we all have to make sure that we're making good decisions out there as we're recreating and living our lives. Finally, from our disaster recovery team, I want to alert the board that we've just received approval from Business Oregon to move funds from the Blue River Community Wastewater Program over to our intergovernmental agreement with eWeb to fund additional grants for septic system replacements in the McKenzie Valley. Commissioner Buck is familiar with this, but the community was not really supportive of the combined wastewater project, and so we worked with Business Oregon to get those funds reappropriated. There is a need to fully expend these funds by the end of the calendar year, this calendar year, 2026, and there is not a viable path for that community system. So our team has found a way to ensure that these funds are expended in the Mackenzie Valley for the betterment of the community. And I will be approving a contract amendment in the next few weeks to preserve the $580,000 for that purpose. And then we will bring the board back a ratification at your next meeting to approve that. So you'll see that next time. Done, under 5 minutes.
Look at that. Bravo. Okay, the Board of County Commissioners will now meet in one executive session. This session is to consider informational records that are exempt by law from public inspection and to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. It's held pursuant to ORS 1926602F and ORS 1926602H, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video, record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in executive session. We'll be back here at 1:30 p.m. and start at 11:20. 5 minutes?
11:20 would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let's do it.